Whoa, gonna get some GodFall, gonna get some GodFall, I'ma play some GodFall. The Frostmaiden Mystic, super high spirit, some vitality so you can take those hits and stay alive. Let me tell you folks, there is no other build I have played that bounces back from a mistake quite like this one. It is Lifestone after Lifestone after Lifestone. It is fantastic. Let me show you why. So first up, let me tell you this build is very utility friendly. And what I mean by that is you can have different setups that make this build better for solo, better for grouping, better for ailments, better for critical. Let me show you why. Alright, so first off, we have polearm that blinds enemies whenever you hit a weak point. There are two versions of this, one being the tower exclusive, which I'm showing you here, and the other one being the Renzai, the man catcher. Now pay close attention if you're using the man catcher because it comes in all elements. You need to get the water one to optimize this one for my build. This particular utility is great for when you are tower climbing and there are lots of non-boss mobs around and you need to clear them out and keep them under control. Not only that, but with an augment called White Recluse, on top of the other healings that you will be giving to your group. In addition to your banner, you will be applying Mark of the Leaching each time you blind with either a shield block, your polearm that blinds on weak point, or when you switch over to the dual blades that you choose. So there are a couple of ideal dual blades. One is not better than the other, but one is better than the other in certain circumstances. For all purposes, I like the Brimtide Cleavers on this build because they help you build up weapon technique charge. And this build does not have a lot of weapon technique build up. It relies on only, and I repeat this, only getting to the first bar of your northern technique when you are using dual blades. This build builds up Archon Fury significantly faster than most builds do. Now your alternatives to this are a choice of whether you want to solo or push out more group heals. The first being for solo, I would switch to Wither Weaves, which gives you a 4% chance to apply the Mark of Leaching whenever you hit an enemy. This is good for both normal and boss mobs, so it adds to your survivability. It is a very good choice for when you decide you want to solo and you don't need to worry about group heals. The next choice in dual blades will be the Last Victory, which has a primary that restores health to you and nearby allies whenever you inflict chill. You want to maximize those group heals that the build will push out, this is the choice for you. I recommend weak point damage as you will want to focus on weak points because of the way that this is set up. Some may be asking, well, why don't you use Leth since it's a more well-known and renowned weapon for water DPS? And the reason being I do not is because your northern technique should not be getting your full charge playing this build. I will explain its playstyle here in just a moment. Let's go through the rest of the build. Next up, if you are dedicating yourself to team play, a banner charge item or two is going to be a great choice for you. And with this being said, we move on to the Amulet of the Exarchs. Gain 2% or 3% if you're lucky banner charge whenever you defeat an enemy. As you can see here, I added critical hit chance, Archon speed, and takedown damage. These are all great stats for your play, especially if you make full use of Spectral Takedown and your Archon Fury. This build builds Archon Fury fantastically. I recommend getting as much Archon Fury charge speed on your items as possible. It is very fun to just charge up and have a Archon Fury ready in the middle of a boss fight when you haven't been fighting minor mobs or every single floor of the tower. I am Archon Furying 1 to 3 times a floor for each room when I climb the tower with this build. It is very fun. Keep the banners down, keep your friends alive if you're with a group. If not, you still are getting a banner that bumps your DPS up very quickly when you solo. Awesome. Next up, the bread and butter that makes this build a group healing build. The War Talisman. Restore 153 health to you and nearby allies whenever you hit a weak point. You get on a boss and you start spamming those hit points, your friends are going to love you because you are going to be healing them. Healing them a lot and consistently. It is fantastic. With this talisman, I went with water damage and the chance to inflict ailments to couple with the additional damage I get when I inflict chill and to boost my base damage. Next up, the Ancestral Band. A good choice for a lot of builds, a great choice for this build. Let me tell you why. We have an augment called Fiery Conviction. Gain 1 Lifestone charge whenever you activate Archon Fury if adjacent augments grant at least 300 spirit. I added damage to chilled enemies, more Archon Fury damage because I'm going to be in Archon Fury a lot. Then I added base damage because base damage is fantastic. Now, let me tell you about this Fiery Conviction and the strategy that I'm using. I'll give you a little bit and then I'll give you the rest towards the end of the video when I show you some gameplay. So what is happening here? You go into a fight, you take some damage. Don't put the banner down at the beginning of the fight. No, no, no. What you do is you take some damage, you use your Lifestone, you drop the banner, and a sweet little augment called Karmic Soul will recharge that Lifestone. So you take some damage, use a Lifestone. You go from 3 Lifestones down to 2 Lifestones, you drop the banner and you go up to 3. Currently, there is what appears to be a bug in this game also. Use it as you will, if you please, but if your banner is interrupted, you still get that Lifestone. Therefore, if you get hit again after, and let's say you get half your health knocked out after you just used a Lifestone and you failed to put a banner and you put another banner up, you're gonna get another Lifestone on top of that. Use it as you please. I'm sure they'll fix it eventually. Now, banner's down. You take some more damage. Use a Lifestone, back down to 2. Guess what? Your Archon Fury is charged up again. Boom, use your Archon Fury. You're back up to 3 Lifestone again. Why, you might be asking? Because of our friend, Fiery Conviction. So you may be wondering, well, how do you get so much Archon Fury charged? It starts with that ring, moves on to Loyalty. Loyalty, the red augment. Whenever you hit a weak point, gain 1% Archon Fury charge and 38% Archon Fury charge speed. Depending on what augment you have, that may be more or less. I added onto weak point damage because we need to focus on that weak point, and adding value to doing that is a great thing to do. And what better way to spam weak points than to use the Surety Legendary Augment. You turn your Dual Blades Northern Technique on and it's just weak point after weak point. And if you're good and you're getting out of the way and not getting knocked down, your party is going to love you because you are just going to be throwing tons of hit points their way as they move in. You might as well just stand in the fire because your HP is not gonna go down if you're doing this right. My friends, you might say healing is ineffective in this game. I beg to differ. Stack up your spirit. In this case, I've got 3,215 spirit. It adds to your recovery. You will find that you become very resilient, and your friends with practice will too. Now, there are 2 rings that you can choose for the second part of this build. I prefer Zwei's Embrace over the other ring because it adds survivability that I don't normally have. And I like to be tanky when I go into these fights. The other ring that you can have allows you to charge up the Archon Fury. Its name is the Furium Band. And as if you didn't have enough Archon Fury charge speed before, now you're adding another percent every time that you hit a weak point. Add in the stat Archon Fury charge speed, in this case plus 7% as you look at it here. This band is not filled out because I just like Zwei's Embrace way better. But if you do this, you are going to be blazing through Archon Fury, one after the other, as long as you have the skill to hit those weak points. Brings a whole new meaning to staying on point. Next up, we're moving on to the Lifestone. Now you might be wondering, why didn't I choose the elemental lifestone instead of the critical hit? Here is why I did that. Because initially you get a free 50% critical damage. It's just free. It comes with the character. Now you're not doing anything with it. I have a few items that add critical hit. I get my items and my stats up to 30%, 35%, somewhere in that region, and it starts becoming more valuable to add in items like Archon's tier, where you start multiplying the critical hit damage. You'll start dishing some incredible damage. Utilize that critical hit. It is there and it's free. It's foolish not to take advantage of it. I understand taking pure elemental builds, but it is better to utilize that extra 50%. What this means is you're at 30%, you add another 36%, more than half of your hits are going to crit, and they're going to multiply it significantly. And you're going to be hard-pressed to find items that don't just add elemental damage and happen to have critical hit damage on them. Don't be too picky. It's awesome anyways. Moving on to the banner. The banner. Why is this important? Because this is the one thing that your team can physically see is adding overheal and has a radius that they know they can stay in and are getting banner health and all the banners stacked together. So I chose the standard of the golden lion. Why? Because this build does not have a lot of weapon technique charge speed, and you want to get to the first northern technique on those dual blades as fast as possible and start hitting those weak points. It doesn't matter if you get to the second, the third, or the fourth. You want to have that northern technique up as soon as possible. Now what I did with this banner is I chose water element friendly stats. In this case, more damage to chilled enemies, more chance to inflict, bonus critical hit damage, bonus weapon technique damage. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the skill build. There's not a lot of required skills in this. I'm not going to talk about every skill that you see here, but I will say that the ones that you really want to have here are weapon techniques. Banners, for the obvious reason, you want to be laying down and generating the highest quality banner you can, as much as possible. The next one being Archon Fury. And again, critical hit chance and critical hit damage. Take advantage of what's already given to you. Don't let it go to waste. 5% crit hit because all you want to do is stack elemental damage, wastes that free 50% for the most part. You can choose to opt into recovery. I did not because I wanted these other ones for survivability and damage. However, recovery is not a bad choice if you want to flip around this build a little bit. Lastly, you want to take ailments because this is the ailment build. Last, but probably most important, you want to have some points and weak points. I only take 1 point in weak point because I like to fill out other things. However, this is totally up to you. Just make sure you can generate weak points or this build is absolutely useless and is pointless to take. All right, let's look back at the augments. In this constellation here, first up, I have a common spirit augment upgraded to max. I just want to add a little bit more spirit here and fill in those points because I somehow made it to 100 of 100. Next up, we have the coal. So the maximum for the uncommon augments for any resistance is 24. So get yourself a 24% whatever resistance it is you want. It does not have to be fire. I am just one of those people that likes to stand in fire and DPS. I think it's awesome and looks super cool when you're strong enough to just sit there and beat your opponent to death in the fire. Super cool looking. Next up, and we went over this, is the loyalty augment. This is going to help you generate more Archon Fury charge speed, and it's going to do it fast. Now, these are the secondaries I chose. Obviously, not everyone's going to have the same thing. I recommend focusing on elemental damage first, second ailment damage, third weak point damage. I added vitality onto this because I don't like to be too flimsy when I get up to the higher levels of the tower. Those mobs start hitting hard, and if you don't have a lot of hit points, kiss your butt goodbye, because one of those guys is eventually going to get a hug on you, and he's going to drop you, and it's going to be the end of your run. Next up is the Cloud Burst augment. Again, Just max upgrade it. Maximum amount, as far as I know, is 29% Archon Fury damage. It's a great boost for a cheap cost. Then we come to the White Recluse, one of my all-time favorite augments. The White Recluse. Apply the Mark of Leaching whenever you blind an enemy. Now, not so much a great augment when you are fighting a boss, unless the boss is summoning minor mobs, but when you are climbing the tower and you are blinding, you are adding to your defense and disabling your enemies for moments, and these moments can be crucial the higher you get. Fantastic augment in my opinion. Next we have Fiery Conviction, and this is where we just generate Lifestone after Lifestone after Lifestone. You will see here in the gameplay that I am a Lifestone generating son of a gun. You will love it. If you like having plenty of healing pots in your games, this is a good build for you. Coming up next, Karmic Soul. Restore a Lifestone again whenever you place your banner. Now couple this with the sped up banner recharge speed, and when you're climbing the tower, every room you enter, you should, if done right and you're playing offensively enough, have a banner every room. Tell your party members they can thank you later. Next I chose Sanity, Void Resistance. Why Void Resistance? I chose Void Resistance because in the tower, these sneaky ninja guys with their casting that adds corruption, and they're sneaking up and hitting you in the back with their swords and stunning you, is very annoying. The slower your corruption buildup goes, the more likely you are to not get stunned in a moment when you need to be free and fighting. Last up is the Surety Augment. Whenever you hit an enemy with your Northern Technique, expose the enemy's weak points. This is great with both the polearm and the dual blades. The dual blades tend to make this augment work best, hands down, because it is a constant Northern Technique. What did I do? I chose weak point damage and additional spirit. How you do those items is up to you. I just want to give you the ideas and see what you come up with. All right, time for some of that how to play this build stuff. Coming in at the 15th floor, the Ascended Tower of Trials. Missing just a little bit of health here. No problem, we'll top off with a Lifestone and get another Lifestone back with the banner set. Get into that Northern Technique as soon as possible. Watch that build up. Now I'm building up a little bit faster than I normally would. I've got a Divination here that adds 3% to my already 3% build up, and the Archon Fury damage build up mods I have on the secondaries. We're in Archon Fury, and you will see Archon Fury last through the rest of this floor. Cool part too is as you're in Archon Fury and it's draining and you're hitting whip points, it refreshes and extends the duration of the Archon Fury you're in. You can get imaginative with what you can do with that. Little mid-boss action here. These two are always a pain in the ass if you don't handle them right. I like to put the Enforcer behind the Brute so that the Forcer is throwing its daggers into the Brute and covering me. I like to drop the Brute first normally. Sometimes I go for the Enforcer first, but typically I like to put the Brute between me and the Enforcer because the Enforcer will sometimes straddle up to the Brute and I can hit them at the same time. Here comes the Brute. Little HP drop, no problem. We'll fix that in a moment. Lifestone out, banner down, back to 3 Lifestone. As you can see, I'm almost up to Archon Fury again. Getting the beat down. Ooh, ouch, ouch, ouch. Kind of stuck in the corner there. Here comes Northern Technique, Archon Fury. Gonna Lifestone. Oh, down to 1 Lifestone, back up to 2. And now I'm not gonna be losing any HP as long as I can hit those weak points. And you can see the bar there trying to go back up. Out of Archon Fury. go ahead and get rid of this brute. Back into Archon Fury again. Probably not going to need it. That's not a problem though. Can always build Archon Fury again very quickly. There you have it, folks. That's kind of what the tower climbing looks like. Lots of Lifestone refreshing going on, lots of Archon Fury going on. My build is built towards elemental damage, ailment damage, and I try to hit about 30 to 35% crit just so I can utilize the crit damage that I have on some items that I can't help but have. And now a map boss fight. We'll go to a 60 map and show you how it performs there. First up we have a Phalanxer Ascendant Hunt. Phalanxer is pretty straightforward. Just get out of the way of his club, get back in, hit the weak points, rinse and repeat, and he is toast. After that, we have another Black Tide Enforcer. Simple fight, easy kill. Not much to say here, just want to show you guys how it performs. Greaves Sunsteel, and this fight went surprisingly easy when I went through it. I didn't expect it to be so quick, but here it is. It is a level 60 map on hard mode, believe it or not. You can see right here, Archon Fury goes on and he just starts dropping like a rock. Last, we have good old Macros. Now, normally I would not recommend using a polearm and dual blades for this fight, as some of you may already know, a longsword is great for this because you get the iframes from the Northern Technique. There are other builds and augments that make you immune to damage for a certain amount of time that allow you to burst through Macros. This build, you have to play the mechanics. You cannot neglect the mechanics of Macros with this build. But this build can do Macros. This is a hard mode. I one-shot it. It is feasible. I will say, I think that the best part of this build is not its ability to take on Macros, but rather its ability to climb the tower. As of yet, I have never seen Macros in the tower, so that's a good thing. We should be alright. Some tips if you do want to take on Macros is to watch his weapons. Do not engage him if you don't have a longsword that gives you iframes or an augment that makes you invisible for 5 seconds. Do not engage him until after he's gotten rid of the katana and is not doing the purple attacks. You will see it. It's a katana with a red hilt. He will swap out with a Sword of Dominance, or if he is in a different phase other than the first phase, he will swap out with a certain weapon, either a polearm or a hammer. Those are the times to really go ham on him, is when he pulls out the polearm or the hammer. But when he gets that katana out, stay away from him unless you've got something like a longsword that gives you iframes or an augment that makes you invincible for 5 seconds, because he will one-shot you. In this particular case, you can see that I am avoiding the little electric shocks made by the polearm. That is because they were hitting me so hard, they were killing me. So I had to avoid them at all costs. So it took me a little bit longer, but again, Macros, one shot. The build is feasible for Macros. If you have a water or longsword, this fight would be super easy. Longswords almost cheat on this fight. Yeah, I said it, I'm not sorry. If you think you got skill using a longsword in this fight, think again, your iframes are saving your butt. Alright, I will leave you here with this, and I hope to hear from you. Maybe get some questions, comments, concerns, something along those lines. I hope that you all are doing well, and I look forward to the next video and hearing from everyone else. Goodbye.